Everybody, welcome back. Happy New Year. In this episode, we're going to install wheel bearings on the Time Attack Honda Civic. Stay tuned. First things first, we need to get wheel bearings. Whoop, almost dropped them. Timken wheel bearings we're putting in this time. We tried a number of them. This one seems to work fairly well. So stay tuned. Put this into our Time Attack Honda. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our freshly coated and cleaned up spindle. We did put a ball joint in the earlier episode. That's a Buddy Club extended one to adjust roll center. And I did coat it in black paint. In this case, it was chassis saber, same as PR15. So I'll get this jigged up in my little 10-ton press that I just picked up. So let me show you my setup here that I've done for this. So on the bottom, I've got a couple spacer plates. I've got an old wheel bearing here to space this up so that the knuckle doesn't touch anywhere else. And then the new wheel bearing, the spindle, and an old wheel bearing again, using it to press it down. You don't want to press directly on this, you're going to damage it. So another word of warning as well is I have done this before where I've put plates here and on the tie rod end on the other side where it attaches the steering arm, and I've actually bent one of these out of shape. I almost had to scrap them. I could get toe adjusted, but it was right at the very limit. So just a word of warning with that, okay? So I'll put you back on time lapse and finish her up. Okay, so there we go. It's all pressed in there. You do want to make sure that you get it so that there's a little groove in here that the C-clip goes into. You need to make sure you got it pressed all the way in there and that it's fully seated on the back side here. There's no gap in here. Okay, there you go, all done. So like I said in the last episode and installing these ball joints, when you're putting C-clips in, you want to make sure that it's not tapered. Some of these have got a bevel where they go in to kind of put more pressure on them. I've only really seen it on turbo compressor housings, but it's something to be aware of when you're working with C-clips. So we'll get this jigged up here and get her going. A good big pair of C-clip pliers is always a benefit. These are Snap-on, but they don't have to be a name brand like that. They can be virtually anything as long as these teeth are strong. They grab in here. I have had some cheaper ones where these have actually broken off when I've been trying to put on big snap rings. See how we can go here. Oh, just like that. Dropped right in there. Beauty. Okay, on to the next one. All right guys, let's put this other one in here and then we will be all done this stage. So get your C-clip pliers lined up, get it set in place, give her a good pinch and drop her in. Boom. Just like that. Nice and in there. Perfect. All right, onto the hubs. Okay, so the trick with pressing wheel bearings into these pressing hubs into these wheel bearings on these Hondas is this is a split inner race here. If you don't adequately support this inner race as you're pressing the hub down into it, it'll actually pop the bearing apart and it'll knock this bottom part off and you're starting from scratch again. So what I've done is I went to the metal mart in my area and just got some black pipe. This black pipe is the right size for this inner race and it allows me to set this in here in the press, get it all lined up, and then when I press this on, the press pushes on here and it just pushes it straight through without damaging the wheel bearing, hopefully, in through. Okay, so now that I got this all jigged up, I've got my piece of black pipe in here to support the inner race of the wheel bearing. I've got my hub set in and positioned in the wheel bearing as straight as I could get it. And I used a socket on the top here to kind of give myself a little bit of extra wiggle room with the press. So we'll press this down and see how she goes. We want to make sure that as it's going down, it's not cocking off at an angle or anything, because that can wreck the wheel bearings. So here we go. And that's all. Feels like it's fully seated now. So take it apart and double check and go from there. Okay, so I took it off the jig, and as you can see, the hub is fully pressed through, and we're good to go. So we'll do this exact same thing for the other side, and then we're all done with these wheel bearings. Okay, there we go. The other one looks the same as the other side. So these are all done and ready to go. All right, everybody, thank you for joining this episode. So far in this off-season build, we've got the new spindles and hubs painted, cleaned up, new wheel bearings in, ARP wheel studs on, Buddy Club ball joints in. Next episode, we're going to install these bad boys on there. Hopefully be a good DIY, inexpensive brake upgrade for this car. No, it's not a Porsche caliper. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. See you next time.